Welcome to day 6 of Hyperautomation pre-UiPath training. So today the concept we are going to discuss is something related to input output methods and also selectors. And we will try to touch base something related to um, data scrapping, right? So let me just open the material. Right. Okay. So we have our material. So today this is what we are going to discuss. We try to see something related to what is UI interactions. So what is input methods and what is selectors and how do we fine tune the selectors and how. So that is our agenda today basically. So interactions, we'll try to see introduction to interactions. Let's say that I have some web-based application or a desktop-based application or else an SAP or else a mainframe. So what you do basically, either you will try to provide some input or else you try to get some output. Right. So what is input actions? We will try to understand here. So input actions are nothing but the clicks you're trying to perform, the text you're trying to type, or the keyboard shortcuts you're trying to provide, or else you try to utilize some clipboard actions like paste or hovering your mouse. So those comes under the input actions. So output actions are nothing but you're trying to get something from the application. You're trying to get the text, you're finding some elements, you're identifying some images, or you are trying to copy something. So when you're trying to get something from the application, it's output actions. You're trying to provide some input to the application, it's basically input actions, right? Input actions and methods, we have different types of input actions and methods. So which we will try to discuss. It's the outdated one, but let me just open the latest version of input methods. Uh, Input methods in UiPath. Yeah. So we have four types of input methods in UiPath, and these were the capabilities. So let's talk about compatibility, background execution, speed, hotkey support, auto empty field, and the design experience. So coming to the hardware events, it's 100% compatible with any sort of application. The background execution is no. Let's say that your screen is minimized and still you want to interact with the application. So that is what we call as a background execution. So that cannot happen in the hardware event. And the speed is 50%, it's a bit slower. Hotkey support, let's say that while you're trying to enter some values, like after, let's say you're trying to search for your path and you hit on enter. It's a shortcut key, right? So such sort of hotkey support, yes. Auto empty field is not available, nothing but there is some existing data. You want to delete the data and enter a new value, which is not happening here in the auto empty field option. So design experience, it's available in both classic and modern. Okay. So send window messages, it supports 80%. So background execution, though it's minimized, it will work. Speed is 50%, hotkey support, yes, and auto empty field is no. So one thing you can just see changes. It can help you out with the background execution, right? The same thing happens with the simulate type or click. It works 99% with the web-based application, but 60% with the desktop-based applications. So it's the same when compared to send window messages. But the only thing you can see here a change in the hotkey support. It doesn't support the hotkey, but it will try to support the auto empty field. And it's also provided in the classic or modern design experience. By default from 2022.10 version, we are having a modern design experience. So no need to worry what is classic or not. So in the latest versions, you'll be having only the modern design experience. Okay. And in the Chromium API, we have something called it supports the browsers, basically the Chrome and Edge. Yes, it supports background execution, it supports hotkey support, and it supports auto update. But mostly it works with only web-based applications, which comes under Chrome or Edge. Okay, so this is what we call as an input method. It really depends where you can change these things and how you can change these things. But going forward, we will be trying to see where we will try to utilize this input methods and how we can get the output methods. Okay. So let's also try to see about output or the screen scraping methods. So we have three types of output methods, like how you gonna interact with getting the text, getting finding the elements, or finding the images, or just using the clipboard activities of copy and all, right? So we have capabilities as full text, native, and OCR. Speed is full text is 10 by 10. Accuracy is also 100%. Background expression, yes. Extract text position, no. So extract the hidden text, yes. So we'll see in the data scraping because data scraping or table extraction will support the full text method. And does it support Citrix? No. Right. So before going, let's try to understand what is Citrix here. So Citrix is something, it works with something called as a thin client. So what is again a thin client and a thick client? So thin client or a thick client is most important when you're trying to automate the applications. So thick client is something you're trying to automate a process where the process applications resides in the same environment as where your tool is also installed. Let's say that I'm having UiPath on my system and the same application can be accessible through my system or the environment. So then it's called as a thin client. So thin client is nothing but the tool is installed in my machine, but your application resides on the client environment, nothing but in some virtual machine or else in RDPs. You need to log in again through your system, and in that environment, your application resides. Right? In that particular scenario, you cannot get the properties of the application. So we will try to go with something called as OCR methods. So that is the reason why we have something called as OCR capability, which is called as optical character recognition. Right? When compared to the speed, it's 3 by 10. It works only with the Citrix, and it can extract only the data, extract the text position. Right? So native is also something that doesn't works in the background. Extract the text version, yes. So hidden text it doesn't support. Only to get the text version and all, we will try to utilize the native methods. So mostly every method will be coming with the full text method and all. So in the interviews perspective also, the those two concepts which we discussed, what is input methods, what is the different type of input methods you have, which method you will try to utilize based on the scenario they'll be trying to ask. Right. In OCRs also we have different types of OCRs like Google, Tesseract, Microsoft Mode. These were coming for free of cost. Also recently we have something called UiPath a document as well as UiPath text related things. OCRs been already been provided as default things. So these are all things just to have some idea. Like this is one thing like UiPath screen OCR, and you have another thing UiPath document OCR basically. So we have different types of OCRs just to handle some unstructured data basically. Right. Just to have an overview, we have discussed about what is input methods and what is output methods. Let's jump back to our agenda. So we have already discussed about input actions or input methods. The same thing it was there in the table. but another thing got added as Chrome API, Chrome API. Okay, so default. So what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages which you already discussed, right? So earlier we used to have all this type of activities: open application, open browser, attach browser, attach window, and get active window. So these were all the activities replaced with a single activity in the modern design experience, which is basically called as open application and browser. So all these activities, it's all from the classic, but it's all been replaced with a single activity, open application and browser. So you might be having a doubt like what is basically the difference between say like what again classic or modern design experience. I'll show you that too. So we are talking about classic versus let me just search in the Google. So classic versus modern design experience in UiPath. Yeah. So modern design experience, you can use the new feature by making this modern design experience enable in your automation projects, starting with the Studio 2021.10. It's starting from 2021.10. It was there basically. So a modern design experience also available for Excel automation. Yes, it's also been enabled. So what's the difference basically? Let's see. I think yes. So differences between the modern experience and the classic experience. So earlier in the recorders, we used to have basic desktop, web, image, native Citrix, and computer vision recorders. But now it's been replaced with only two recorders. It's app or web or computer vision. Right? So you can also utilize classic design experience by just clicking on activities and just clicking on the filters. You can get the classic activities too. Okay. So earlier, all these activities, right, on element appear, on element vanish, uh, find image, image exist, element exist, everything is replaced by single activity here. So like check app state, right? So earlier we have get full text, get visible text. So all these things, it's been navigated to a single activity extract table data. So same thing which we are discussing, right? I'm just showing a slide uh, which is talking about open application, open browser. So all these activities are replaced with a single activity here. And also in modern design experience, you'll have object repository, but in classic design experience, you'll be not having, or you will be experiencing something on the modern design experience of object repository. So scraping methods in a classic earlier used to have something called data scraping and screen scraping, but now it's been replaced with something called a stable extraction. So these were some of the differences you can identify in terms of a modern design experience when compared to a classic design experience. And 1000% we can say that a modern design experience is much faster when compared to the classic design experience and more compatible and flexible for us to build the projects. Right. Fine. So let's jump back to our agenda. Yeah. So what is this recorders basically? Recorders mostly we will not try to utilize. As a developer, we should not be utilizing the recorders, but still, just to have a POCs uh, built and all, you can just try to utilize. So let me just what is the definition? Let's try to say, and we'll try to jump into the practical part of what we have seen till now. So recordings helps us to capture user actions on the screen and translate them into sequences. So whatever you are trying to do, you just try to do manually. Screen, it's recorded, and the same is converted into workflow in the UiPath. So let's see how we can do that. So earlier we used to have different types of recorders, like it's basic desktop, web, image, native, Citrix, and computer vision, which is for the classic design experience. But we are now utilizing the modern design experience. So we have only app or web, and also computer vision. Only two recorders we have. So let me just open UiPath to just understand, hey, what is this recorders and how I can utilize these things, right? So before that, let me just open a small application, demo application. So we'll also share this application by uploading into the Git, so you can download those things. Right. So what is this? It's an application. What I want to basically do is I just want to enter some values in caching. Okay. I want to enter some values in the caching, and I want to capture this transaction number or else the account number and click on accept. So if you see it was 619 and 567, I click on accept. So you can see the transaction number is getting updated, right? So I just want to enter these three values and uh, get the transaction number basically out of it. So how can I do that? So first, if you want to do that using activities, I need to launch the application. Okay, after launching the application, I need to enter the values. So I'll use three type intos activities. So to accept, I'll use the click activity, and to get the transaction number, I'll use get text. It's one of the activity, right? So how to get these things, what to do, we will try to discuss directly, but in the next session when we're talking about UI automation. But since now I'm trying to utilize uh, recorders, so let's see how I can achieve the same task without knowing any activity. I don't know anything till now because I'm just starting my journey in the UiPath, and how I just want to explore these things. Right? But still, you can do this. I'll try to open a new sequence. I'll say recorders. Just hit on create, right? So now I want to utilize something called as app or web recorder, right? So I'm just trying to hit on this app or web recorder. So which will come up with this particular pop-up. So I'll say, see here, already the elements are getting highlighted in the green, right? So first thing I'll say that, hey, I want to interact with this application. Okay. Or else I can just delete and directly go with directly typing into the caching. So I want to type into this caching, right? So type a value which you want to enter. So I'll say like 100 is the value I want to enter. So after which I want to enter some value here. So I'll say enter 200. So what do you want to do here? I want to enter a value called 300. So after which I want to extract this particular data, right? And I want to click on accept. Right. And simply I just say that, hey, save my process. Right. So without dragging and dropping your activities, you are able to make sure that your activities are utilized. Now you have built your particular workflow. Right. So here after extracting the data, so I want to do a small thing correction here, stating that I want to store the data in a str variable, str underscore transaction number, right? So after which I want to just use a small message box to print the value of the transaction number. So I'll just say like str transaction. So after which I want to click on the accept, right? So this is simple process which we are trying to see. So let's try to run if the same thing is happening or not. Let's try to understand. So it's trying to launch the application, enter the values like 100, 200, 300, and it was trying to extract the value of your transaction number. It's 963706, and it was trying to just click on accept, right? And it was automatically closing the application too, right? So this is what basically recorder does, right? So any queries on the same, please do let me know, or else we will be going ahead with most important concept called as selectors. It's just very right. So let's try to jump into the concept of selectors. Uh, Let me just open the slide. See here, when we are trying to interact with what is this basic recording, desktop recording, web recording, and all. So when you are trying to interact with desktop application, you use desktop recording. If it's web application, you're trying to utilize web recorders and all earlier. But now it's all one thing, app or web basically. So all these things also were just simplified to make sure everything is captured automatically. No need to worry of all these things. Right. Select as. So which is very much important for us to understand. So introduction to selectors. So what is basically selectors and why we need to use selectors and where we will be trying to utilize selectors and how we will be trying to utilize selectors. So these were the three things we'll try to understand. So selectors are fundamental part of UiPath Studio for identifying individual UI elements on the screen. So let's say that I want to do some automation, right? So automation where I want to enter some values like entering your let's say when you're trying to generate a CIBIL score, you will need to enter some Aadhaar card, PAN card, your first name, last name, and the surname, right? So I need to enter the first name manually. You know that hey, this is the text box where I need to enter the first name, or else the surname, or else the Aadhaar card number. But how come the bot or you decide the bot to enter a particular value on the particular text box? So you need to make sure that you are trying to identify the elements based on the properties, but not based on the visual appearance and all, right? Same thing happens with the selectors. It will try to identify the properties of the elements on any sort of the screen. It might be web-based, desktop-based, SAP, mainframe, and all these things. So how we can capture the selectors, how you need to do some edit to the particular selectors and all. So why we need to do the selector edit and all, we will try to understand. So properties of the selector editor and all, we'll try to see all these things. Okay. So before that, let me just try to create a new sequence. So which will talk about selectors. Okay. So let me just try to launch some application. Let's say datatables.net. Okay. So what I want to do is basically, I want to just get this first names, right? All these names I want to get. So what I'll do is I'll just go to your path. So first of all, I want to use something called use application or browser because I'm trying to interact with an application. So I'll say that, hey, so this is the application I'm trying to interact. Yes, it will try to automatically capture your URL, browser URL. After which I'm trying to say that I want to get some text. Okay. So simply drag and drop your activity. So indicate on the application. So what is this here? See, I have lots of elements on this application, right? So I have lots of elements, but I want to get only this particular Aston Cox, or else like Bradley Courier, or else I want to create only the Bruno Nash, because each element is having a different property here. Each accountant, CEO, junior technical author, each element is having a different property. So how do you capture that particular property, right? So in order to capture the particular property, so we need to click on indicate in the Chrome. So when you're trying to indicate on the Chrome, you need to make sure that, so let's say that sometimes you will be coming up with, though you're trying to indicate here, you will be like showing something like this, like the whole table and all. Instead of getting a single element, you will get the whole page getting highlighted. So in that case, you need to make sure that you are trying to install your Chrome extension in the tools which I'll be showing. So if it's not installed properly, you can't identify the elements on the web-based applications. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to extract this particular Aston Cox data. Okay, I'm just simply hitting on the particular target. So what it happens is it has identified the element and it has provided the data, right? So mostly when you're trying to get the data, the target can be identified in four types. So strict selector, fuzzy selector, and it's about the accuracy and also the computer vision, right? So please do make sure as a practice, you are selecting only the strict selector at most cases, okay? So that the target is identified, right? So sometimes it's not that what you see as ID, table, table row is only the elements. You can see multiple elements by just clicking on this particular Open UI Explorer. So it's not that for this element, you can see only these four elements, but initially UiPath has identified only these four elements. Sometimes we need to also make sure that you need to select more properties for the element. So how to select more properties for the element? By just clicking on open in UI Explorer. So all the steps which I'm trying to show you is very much important, because going forward or as like whenever you're trying to automate, so these were the things which will help you to get a complete idea. See here. So when we are there in the UI Explorer, the first line will help you to say that, hey, whatever you have identified is valid. But still, if you want to identify it again, you can indicate the element again. You can also highlight to make sure that whatever the element you have identified is correct or not, right? So these were the three things we need to know as of now. And coming to these things, so these were all the properties of the particular element, right? Where you can just make sure that I am trying to identify the column name as name. And also I see that the row name is basically Aston Cox, right? So what I'll do is I'll just simply copy paste this particular data into some notepad to just identify what is the difference between this element and another element. So what I'll do, I'll again try to indicate element. So instead of Aston Cox, I'll try to identify something called Brendan Wagner. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll just go with similar properties of column name and also the row name. And I'll just copy this particular data, paste it into the notepad to see what is the difference between the two elements, right? So what happened is I've identified that the first line or the properties remains the same. The second line remains the same, but I can see that here the table row is different. It's getting updated from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And also the column name is also name. It's also fine. And also I've seen that the row name is getting updated, right? Fine. So these were the properties which were getting updated, right? So table row and the row name. So which we call as dynamically it was getting changed. How to make sure that the dynamically changing properties or attributes of the particular element is fine tuned using selectors different concepts. We will discuss. But first of all, let's try to get the text, try to print it so that you will get some idea. Second, it's validated why it's showing uh, what I can say amber or other color is something which is you have modified by adding some properties. So you need to make sure that it's validated again. So it's validated to make sure that it's properly done. So let's say I have deleted some elements now. Let's say I have deleted these elements. Okay, so since I've deleted, it's again changing and I click on validate. Okay, which is trying to capture the whole table, which is not ideal case. Okay, I'll just validate now, which will show me red because the thing you have changed, it's not matching the things or the properties of the elements on the application, right? So in that case, I need to indicate element again. So get some data, try to make sure that everything is falling in place. Okay, so I'll validate. Yes, I have seen that I have added more properties or attributes to the particular element here. Okay, and I'll just simply hit on save. Okay, so this is the updated properties or attributes added to the selector which I was trying to go with. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just simply hit on confirm so that my value or text got extracted. Right. So what I'll do, I'll just say like control K, my data is basically stored in str name. Right? And I'll just use some message box to get the data. Right. So we are trying to extract the data. So I'll click on save all and hit on run file. It was trying to extract the value Brandon Wagner, right? So, but now my scenario is to make sure that I want to get all these names like Arisato, Angelio, Ramos, Aston Cox, whatever that was there on the first page. I want to get all this text data using the same get text. How can I do that? So if we don't know your path, what we will think is, hey Kiran, you need to utilize all these 10 get text to make sure that you are extracting 10 values from the application. No, it's not the ideal situation. You need to utilize only one get text to extract all this data. So how can we do that? So let's try to understand that. So we came to know that in the target, you will have something called as selectors. Okay. And we have identified that we need to increment this particular table row. And we need to make sure that we need to like remove this row name because it's getting updated with the different values, right? So I need to increment this thing. So I'll be utilizing a concept of say like what I can say using variables inside the selectors. So that is one concept. And also I'm trying to replace all these values with a common value called asterisk. So asterisk is called as a wildcard, which will replace all your values with a single character. So let's say it might be Kiran, or else it can be Pradeep, or else it can be UiPath, or it can be anything. So any characters can be replaced with a single asterisk value, right? But now here I want to increment, right? So how do I do these things? Let me jump back to my get text. In this get text, what I need to do, I need to basically loop, right? So I'll use a while loop. So in the while loop, I need to make sure I was getting the get text. And in the get text, I'll also utilize the string name. So I'll create what I can say a counter. So int underscore count. So where it's an integer, it starts with basic value of 2. And I'll say int. Okay. So variables, it's in the body. I'll make it to the scope of the selectors. Okay. So I'll write a condition in count is less than 11. Till that condition, you need to loop. So how to increment now? I'll use an assign. Okay. To increment the values. So int count is basically int count plus 1. Okay. So all these things were properly passed, but I need to change the selector now. So how to change the selector? So I'll go to the selector here. Okay. I'm trying to say that I want to replace all this value with the asterisk, and I want to replace this particular thing with using a selector. So we have some.
We cannot hear you.
Sorry. Is it audible now?
Yeah, you are. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. So this is what you need to do a change. So what I've done basically, I've just changed something in the strict selector, right? So this is what I've done. I've replaced the values here with an asterisk in the row name, and I'm just increasing the table row value, right? So fuzzy selectors and all you can just remove. It's of no use. Save it text is also not required. Okay, fine. So let me just try to run, see if this is working for us or not. Right. So let me just save, try to run the file. Right. We are getting the first value from the message box. So second value. See, I have utilized only a single get text, right? But I'm getting all these things because I've just changed the properties. So I know where it was dynamically changing. So I was able to get the values. So Bruno Nash, Casner Fancy, Kara Stevens, but it was not able to get the last column since I blew till to 11 only. So I'll run it once again to make sure that we're also getting the last column value too. Harity, Angelica, Aston, Bradley, Brendan, Brayley, Bruno, Caesar, Sukara, Cadrick, right? So we have got all the values. So one more thing I just want to do is, so without getting, I want to get also the office part. So what I'll basically do is I'll see what is the change in the property. So you can also see the change in property by just clicking on UI Explorer directly. Okay. So I'll say indicate element, get the first column. Let's see what is the difference you can identify. Okay. It's only the column name office. So what I'll do is I'll just close this thing. I'll keep it here office. So I'll get copy paste of the same data. So instead of creating, I'll create a new variable str office. Okay. So in this, what I'm trying to change is, so I'll go to the strict selector. So in the column name, I want to utilize something called, sorry, I want to utilize something called office. Okay. Hit on save. And with the string name, I'm like the name, I want to also get my office location, str office. Okay, fine. So let me try to save, run. Let's see whether I was trying to get the same things or not. See here. So I was trying to get both the things, right? So Arita Sao and the Tokyo, so Anglica Ramos and London, Aston Cox from the San Francisco. So I've just made a small change in the selector property, nothing but the element attribute, which will help me to dynamically get the values from the application. Okay, so that is how you can just utilize selectors, and you can try to dynamically utilize the concepts of wildcards, and also you can utilize the concept of something what we call as using variables inside the selectors, right? So I've seen how to utilize the UI Explorer, how to change the selector attributes, how to add more attributes to this particular selector and also how to fine tune your selectors dynamically, right? So whatever I'm just showing you, it might be bit easy, but coming to the practicality, it might be a bit difficult. So until unless you practice couple of times, you won't be excelling on this particular change in properties of the particular attribute or all these things. But may try to make sure that whatever we are trying to implement on the session, you are implementing on your systems too, which will help you out in getting more hands-on experience. Okay, fine. So let me just open a new flow chart. So to talk something about the table extraction. Hope we are clear. Any doubts, please do let me know, or else we will move
Hi,
forward.
Kiran.
Yes,
This is Suresh.
yes.
Actually, we have a like around 10 rows or 12 rows. If we have a like 1,000 or 2,000 rows, what will be the condition in this while loop?
Sorry. Yeah, you're saying that if you're having 1,000 rows of data, 2,000 rows of data, so how can you
Yeah,
extract those things, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like what will be the
So
condition? Like we are giving one integer and less than 11, or based on that data table or row, we are executing that value. But if we have around 1,000 or 2,000, what will be the condition in the while loop?
yeah. So in that case, like instead of providing that particular things, I'll show you now the table extraction method, which will help you out. So what I'll do is I'll just simply hit on table extraction. Okay. So just to make sure you are familiar with the concept of selectors, dynamically using variables, all these things I've utilized that. But if it is a table of data, which is having 1,000 rows or 2,000 rows of data, so you need to simply utilize table extraction. So I will try to say like select data to extract. So I will say I'll identify any one of the element. Okay. So would you like to extract all the columns of the table? For now, I'll try to hit on yes. Okay. So if you can see here, all the data I was able to extract here. So I was able to get the name, position, office, age, start date, and even the salary. So earlier we are not able to see the salary, where is the salary is coming from. If I just click on this, I have the salary. So though it was a hidden text, it will try to extract because it was by default utilizing what I can say, the full text method. Okay. So I'll just hit on save and close. So obviously my data got extracted into the table. Okay. So what I want to do is I just want to print this, or else I want to, what I can say, I want to just print the data. I'll just print the data in the message box, or else I'll write it into Excel. Okay. Write range workbook, where you can write it into the Excel. So I'm trying to create an Excel called data dot XLSX. Okay. Into which sheet you want to write? So I want to write it in a sheet one. What's the data? It's the extract data table. Nothing but whatever the data that was extracted, it's stored in a variable called data table. So we can see in the variable types, it's data table, and we are trying to write it back to the particular Excel. Okay. And if you can see in this particular extract data table, let's say number of limit extraction to, you can limit to maximum rows, maximum pages, or no limit. So number of items you want to extract, let's say you might be having 2000 rows of data, but still you want to go with only 100 rows of data. You can just limit the number of items to 100 here. So once the particular 100 mark is reached, it will automatically stop your particular bot to go ahead with the things. Okay. So hope I have answered your question, Suresh. So no need
Yeah,
of
got it.
utilizing while loop
But
and all. Yes,
by
please.
using table extraction, we can extract the unlimited, like whatever the table ends, where the table ends, we can extract, right, Kiran?
Yes, 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 yes. Even I'm just
But
showing
using
you,
like
yeah, even I'm just showing you single page data which was being extracted. But going forward, I'm like in the next couple of minutes, I'll also show you how we can extract all the 6 pages of data, not even 6 pages of data. So in this case, it's only 6 pages of data. But if you have 100 pages of data also, you can still extract. So we will see how we can extract those things also. Okay. So let me just hit on save all and try to run the file to see whether the data is getting extracted or not. See, it's already been extracted. So I've created a file called data1.xlsx. So this is the file which is automatically created by the bot, and it has written the data for us. Right. So we can see this the data. So since I have not provided another item here, so I need to tick mark something called add headers. So in the option we'll have add headers, where it will try to add the headers to. Okay. So this is the first page data. But in my case, I just want to extract all the 6 pages of data. How you can do that? So what I'll do, I'll just what I can say, I'll just delete this thing to just make sure I am just showing you that particular property where you can enable. Okay, so what I'll do again, I'll use at the top table extraction. So I'll try to navigate to the application. So I'll select data to extract. So I'll just come to the application. So I'll say I want to extract all the columns. And at the bottom, you have extract data from multiple pages. I'll now click on yes. So what is the next button? It was helping you to move. So this is the next button, right? Which was helping me to move from first page to second page, third page or fourth page. So I'll just select this thing, right? So it's automatically selected. I'll save and close, right? So whatever the data you have extracted, I'm saying that try to write it back to the Excel. So now also try to make sure that you are adding the headers too. So let me save this, try to run the file, see whether we are able to move from first page, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So now we are on the first page, right? So the bot has started. So it was moved to second page, third page, fourth page, fifth page, and the sixth page. And automatically the bot will try to understand that there is no more pages and it will automatically stop your bot too. So I have extracted the data. So what I'll do, I'll open the data 1.xlsx. So I'll open the sheet one, it's been there even with the headers and all the 6 pages data. So we have around like 58 rows item. Right. So before doing this, I just want to apply a small filter where I'll say that the office is basically Tokyo, or else I want to get only data or process data where it is London. So how can I do that? So what I'll do, I'll just delete the Excel. Okay. Once again, okay, it's already opened. So I'll just delete the Excel. Okay. So I'll just come here. I'll add a small filter condition here. So we have something called filter data table where you are trying to filter the data table. So we are saying that I'm trying to filter a data table called extract data table, and I want to store the data in the same extract data table after filtering. So what is the column you want to filter? So the column I want to filter is basically office. And what is the value you want to get filtered with? I want to filter value called London. Okay. So what is the criteria? It is equals to. Right. I'll just click on OK. So once the filter data was there, so that particular data is only being written back to the Excel. Right. So we might be having data which was related to London, maybe like 8 or 9 items. The same items will only be written, but not all the elements now. So let me just try to run the file. So we are on the first page, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, right? So after which it was also filtering your particular data and you are writing only the required data, right? So I have data 1.xlsx file. So instead of writing all the rows of data, it has written only the data which is related to Office's London, right? And you can see it's all different data from all the 6 pages of data. So this is how you can apply lots of things based on your business requirements. So that is one thing I just want to show. And apart from that, there is also one last scenario we'll discuss in mind up. Sort of all these columns, I want to extract only the name column and the office column, but not all the columns. So in some scenarios, you might be having hundreds of columns where you want to extract only 3-4 columns, which is required for your business. So in that case, how can you do that? So what I'll do, I'll just delete this existing thing, which will cause me some issues. So I'll disable this, right? So what I'll do, I'll try to hit on table extraction once again and select the data to extract. So what I'll do, I'll just hit on something called name. After selecting on the name, it will ask you, would you like to extract all the columns from table? I would like to say yes, no. So this particular column you want to extract, right? So I'll hit on confirm, right? You have the column called name now. Okay, I'll say like select data to extract. Now I was trying to select office. I'll hit on same thing and I'll say office and I'll just save and close. As simple as that, right? So instead of extracting all the data, I'm trying to extract only the data that is required for me. So let's try to run the file and I want to write it on sheet 2 instead of sheet 1. because some data is already there in sheet 1, right? So let me just save the file, try to run the file. So now instead of getting um, all the columns, I will be getting only name and office column from the first page. So hit on project, navigate to the files which you want to go with, open the file, and you will be there with only the data in the sheet 2, which is only name and office, right? So this is how you can extract only required data based on your requirements, right? So that is how you can extract the data, nothing but the correlated data, right? So this is how you can do a table extraction where you can extract all pages data, a single page data, only correlated data, and after which you can apply data table operations to get your required data based on your business requirements, like sorting, filtering your particular data, removing the duplicate rows, or else like you want to add multiple filters, you can do that, right? And also we have seen how to utilize selectors, where to utilize the selectors, how to actually utilize wildcards in the selectors, and also variables in the selectors for the fine tuning with something called as UI Explorer. And also we have seen about recorders and input output methods too, right? Fine, any doubts? We are open for discussion, or else we'll just wind up the session for today. Mangesh, you're speaking. If you're speaking, your voice is too low.
Yes, yes.
Yes, please.
As you said, you are using in classic and modern design. So
Uh-huh.
nowadays, which one is preferable? Modern or
So
classic?
no,
Because classic.
it's only modern will be utilizing, but still if you want to utilize classic activities, so what you need to do is just click on activities here. Okay. So you have a filter at the top. So where you can also enable something called as classic. So if you enable classic, you can also see the classic activities, but mostly we'll try to utilize only the modern design experience. Okay. So why modern design experience? We already seen. See, all these activities are being replaced with a single activity here. What I can say, I'll show you some table, right? We have already seen. See, all these activities, instead of utilizing this number of activities, we are utilizing only a single activity. So instead of utilizing this number of activities, so it's been only replaced with a single activity, right? So it is much faster, compatible, flexible. So we go with the modern design experience. But still you won't utilize, you can utilize by just selecting in the activities classic, where you can get those classic activities too.
Okay. Thank you.
Fine. Yes, Suresh.
Kiran, can we use the combination of both classic and modern activities at a time, or should we
Yes, we
use
can.
the pattern of?
We can
Okay,
utilize both
instead of
combination of classic and modern design experience.
okay. Additionally, in the classic, while I'm going into this UA path, I'm observing a lot of selectors failing. While using
Mhm.
modern activities, selectors are accurate. Is it right?
Yes, exactly. So in the modern UI automation things and all experience, so you can see various targeting methods also. So which is much stable when compared to the earlier ones and all.
And what is we will use question mark in the selectors? What is the use of a question mark, Kiran?
So yeah, question mark will only replace a single character. But
Okay,
if you want to replace multiple characters, you can utilize asterisk.
okay, fine. Fine from my end, Kiran.
Yeah, thanks, Suresh, for your thanks. I think we are good for today. Yes, I'll upload the recordings. Yesterday we are a bit busy with the election results and all. Yep, thank you. Have a great day. We'll meet again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.